All right, Shalom, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises and honor and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. This particular video, I want to get into the nature of YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, and the many different facets of war being manifested on the earth and through the spirit. So through the spirit, I hope this is edifying. And the first verse I'm going to start off with is Exodus 15, chapter 3. It says, Yahweh is a man of war. Yahweh is his name. Okay? Disregard the NLT version because Yahweh is not his name, but it is Yahweh. Okay? Meaning he exists. All right, so what does that mean? You've probably seen in the scriptures or heard Yahweh, no, Lord of hosts, right? You've seen Lord of hosts. So hosts means armies, okay? And let's just go to it so I can prove all things. Okay, let's just go to this verse. So you want to click that, click the interlinear, go down to hosts, the Lord of hosts. Look, it says army, all right? Hosts, organized army, host of angels, warfare, service, go out to war. All right, so I'm going to be going into how he controls the political climate and the motions of political campaigns, and how he controls and influences and inspires the men, the sons of men, or the men on earth to go into war. Okay? First, let's get the etymology of what war is. All right, so war. It says from old French word war, meaning difficulty, dispute, hostility, fight, combat war. Let's go down to this one from pi. It says to confuse, to confuse, mix up. All right, look, in the cognates suggest the original sense was to bring confusion. Okay, and that's what Babel means. Babel means confusion, right? And he ultimately he's the director and created everything on earth. Well, through his wisdom, everything was created. So here's what Babel means in the Hebrew. It says confusion by mixing, okay? So this is all the work of Yahweh BaHaShem YAHAWASHI. He is the one that is bringing confusion. Of course, he's a just power, so there's a balance. And we know, well, through the spirit, we can see Yahweh has many war tactics, war game, right? War is waged, and there's a balance that is taking places when two opposing forces are at constant battle, and that's light and dark, good and evil, right? This balance is always taking place on the earth through the spirit, all right? A false balance is an abomination, so this is another reason why Yahweh is the Lord of hosts, or he is Yahweh of the armies, right? Because he controls the armies in heaven. Well, meaning like the angels. The angels, they are a part of his. He's the commander in chief. Let's just go and say he's the commander in chief. Both sides report to him, but he has a balance because he's a just power. Okay, and through the infinite wisdom of Yahweh, like I said, the wages of war is constantly manifested here on the earth since he is of hosts. All wars are his work, including race wars, gender wars, civil wars, proxy wars, cold wars, cyber wars, economic wars, spiritual war, psychological warfare, war against the flesh, war of the worlds. Okay, so he's all about war. The war, any war going on right now, you got he's in control of it. He controls it like the weather. So any political climate, changes. He's controlling the campaigns, war campaigns. He controls both sides, hot and cold. For an example, the campaigns here on Earth were inspired by the Most High, just like warfare. So the Most High's campaign consists of two parties. You got light and dark. He is the creator of both. Matter of fact, let's go to it. Create. Let's see. Let me see. I think it's, let me just go to Isaiah. I believe it's Isaiah 47. No, not Ezekiel. Isaiah chapter 47. I think 5. No. Maybe thinking of 45. Okay. This is Isaiah 45 verse 7. It says, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahawah, do all these things. Okay, so he does all these things. He creates the light. He makes the darkness. He sends good times and bad times. All right, so that's proven. So you have two opposing forces, right? He got angels and powers working on the minds of men on earth to carry out his will and purpose. The Democratic Party and Republican Party is a small example of having two opposing forces to create a balance, causing ultimately both sides to work for the same entity. I mean, not causing, but it creates balance, but for the most part, or truthfully, I would say, both sides, the Democratic and the Republican Party, they both work for the same entity, that is United States of America, right? Which is a corporation. In the same way, both the right and the left hand of power are controlled oppositions that do the will of Yahawah, a just power, right? Where else do you get the inspiration? Do they get the inspiration of these things? It comes from the heaven, right? Let's go to Ecclesiasticus 33. All right, starting at 13, it says, as the clay is in the potter's hand to fashion it at his pleasure, so man is in his hand. So man is in the hand of him that made him to render to them as liketh him best. Good is set against evil, life against death, so the godly against the sinner and the sinner against the godly. It says, so look upon all the works of the Most High, and there are two and two, one against another. So it's a constant battle, okay? It's two and two. Everything is two and two. It's good set against evil, right? So let's go to Romans. So you got good, evil, you got the wicked, and you got the righteous, right? And this was going into how he created the wicked and he created the righteous. So it's two opposing forces, just like Jacob and Esau when they were in the he had two nations in the womb. They were fighting against each other, right? He set it up that way. So let's read Romans 9, verse 17. It says, for the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. So the Most High, he's doing these things. He's hardening the hearts of Pharaoh to glorify his name, because he's really in control of all of these things. This is like war games. So he can raise men up, pharaohs, kings, you know, to do his purpose, and give them inspiration to do sieges and have all of these different war tactics, but I'm gonna I'm gonna further expound on that as well. Verse number 18, it says, therefore hath he mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will he hardeneth. So he can stir the minds up to make people more stubborn, to make people, he makes people want to fight. And that's exactly what's going to happen in the Valley of Decision. He's going to cause them all to fight one another. And then, of course, they're going to fight against, the Heavenly Father and his angels in YAHAWASHI, right? Verse 19, it says, Thou wilt say then unto me, why doth he yet find fault? For who hath resisted his will? Okay, so no matter what, you can't resist the will. He's in control of it. Everybody is predestined. Okay, but moving on, let's go jump down to verse 21. It says, hath not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel unto honor and another unto dishonor? It said, what if the Most High, willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endure with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction? So that's the whole purpose, is to make known, to be glorified, right? So let's see. So as we know, he's in control of, he's the potter, okay? So as the potter, you have the option to make this clay pot for this use and for this purpose, and then the other clay pot for this use and for this purpose. And just like we are the clay, okay? We as man, we are clay, so we can't resist his will. We were created to do what we was created to do, and we just following the script because it was already written. All right. Let's go over to Daniel 4 and verse 17. It says, this matter is by the decree of the watchers and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basis of men. So, for example, all these kingdoms that have been raised, right? They didn't do it on their own will, over their own powers, because they were just this powerful people, right? You had the Egyptian kingdom, you had the Assyrian, the Babylonian, the Persian, the Medes, the Greek, the Roman. All of those kingdoms were set up by the Most High. And of course, how did those kingdoms come about? There had to be warfare, all right? The only way you can take down a kingdom and then bring another kingdom up, or another kingdom is raised up, is through warfare, okay? So every kingdom was taken down through the process of skirmishes and battles and wars here and there, but it was all through the power of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI, seeing that he is the Lord of hosts, okay? And another verse to prove that, I'm gonna go to Proverbs chapter 21. In verse 1, it says, the king's heart is in the hand of Yahawah as the rivers of water. He turneth it whithersoever he will. The NLT says, the king's heart is like a stream of water directed by Yahawah. He guides it wherever he pleases. All right. So he is controlling the man that is in power, the king on the earth. He is in control of that king, and make him do whatever he want him to do. Set up laws, sanction out different policies, rules, and regulations. He's in control of all of that. But of course, it's through, he do it through just means. So it's never going to be an off balance type of thing. All right, so I'm about to show some examples of Yahweh, raising up nations and then or bring down other nations. So let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 9. It says, "For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country." See, he's causing these nations to raise up. All right, this is his work. This is, and they will set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. Okay, so the arrows are going to go straight to the mark and they're not going to miss, right? And setting themselves in array, that's basically him mustering up the battle, getting them to prepare themselves. And because we know what a battle array is. Let's just give you an example. Battle array. All right, so this is what a battle array looks like, right? He's getting them prepared for war. These are just examples. Shoulder to shoulder, and then it just depends. He gives them the technique, and he inspires them. This is through the powers, his powers, like the angels. They work on the minds of men. Okay? I'm going to go to chapter 51, Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 11. It says, "Make bright the arrows, gather the shields. Yahawah hath raised up the spirit of the king of the Medes, for his device is against Babylon to destroy it, because it is the vengeance of Yahawah, the vengeance of his temple." Right? So ultimately, you see again an example of Yahawah raising up through the spirit of the kings, directing that heart like a stream of water, and to cause them to come against another nation to destroy it, right? Because just like the Amorites, there was a certain period of time until their iniquity was fulfilled. Then that's when he, through his just power, he sets people up, nations up, to go against another nation. Like, it's all in his works, right? It's all in the measurements of his bag. Let's go to, matter of fact, let me go to bag weights. Yeah, this is all in his way. It says, Proverbs 16 and 11, "A just weight and balance are Yahweh's. All the weights of the bag are his work." Okay? So this is, how he weighs things out. And when I was talking about the iniquity of the Amorites, or when he promised Abraham, let's see, because the Israelites, they were, yeah, there we go. Exodus 15 and 13, it says, "And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that your seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years." He was talking about Egypt, right? And it says, "And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance." That was, Exodus. I'm going to scroll down to verse 16. It says, "But in the fourth generation they shall come hither again, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full." So this is the example of those, the bag of, I read about the measurements in the bag, So it's not yet full. It has to fulfill a certain amount of weight so he can warrant their destruction. So this is when, for example, when there was Exodus, the Israelites were Exodus out of Egypt, they were on their way to the promised land, in which, of course, they had to conquer them. They had to take them down as a nation. They had to take down the Canaanites to get that land. So this is the measurement being in full. So as you can see, the two opposing forces, you see that just weight. They was afflicted for 400 years. They go to the promised land, and to take away that land because the iniquity of the Amorites is now full. All right. So let's go back to Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse number, let's go down to 27. Yeah, see, it's just going back into basically controlling the armies of the nations. And we pretty much get the point. All right. So we know all wars. Now we know all wars are by design, divine design, and through inspiration and influence. The sons of men are stirred up to do the will of Yahawah, unbeknownst to them. They thinking they're doing this on their own volition. They think that they just, for example, the Edomites, how they got control and how they were able to acquire the kingdom, this earth, the whole earth during the Renaissance period, all from there all the way up. Okay. But truthfully, it was just they were fulfilling prophecy, and we are at the end of their age. So their iniquities is almost complete. Their cup, they have to drink it. They're about to drink that cup of wrath, right? So I wanted to go into next about Yahawah, of course, using, if he's a man of war, right? Then there's plenty of examples in the scriptures where different nations are his sword. He used them as a weapon, right? So let's go to Isaiah 13, verse. I'm going to start at 4. It says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people, a tumultuous sound, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. Yahawah of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. And the NLT says, Yahawah of heaven's armies has called this army together. Okay, he called them together through the Spirit. He's control. He's the Father of spirits, right? He controls what's going on earth. It says they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even Yahawah, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. So a lot of these weapons, such as ICBM missiles and atomic bombs and different things of that nature, those were actually created through the Spirit and power of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI to fulfill his purpose of judgment. And in his righteous indignation, he created the smith. This is his weapon, but of course he had man to create it to carry out that judgment, right? For example, let's just go to it. It says, Isaiah 54:16, it says, behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. So this is all his work, right? I wanted to make that point. So as we know, all of these weapons were created through the Spirit, on the left-hand side, to carry out different judgments, right? Even guns. they're considered the sword. All these things, they're synonymous, or it's a metonymy of the same thing, a weapon. Anytime it's mentioned sword or weapons, it could be, or anytime it mentions sword in the scriptures, it can mean any weapon, any type of weapon. It could be a rod, it could be a missile, and sometimes you see arrows. Arrows is not always talking about a literal bow and arrow, okay? It's talking about missiles. In the prophecy, this is prophecy. All right, Jeremiah 50, verse 25. I'm going to read it in the NLT. It says, Yahawah has opened his armory and brought out weapons to vent his fury. So I told you, like, this is for his purpose, to carry out the judgment. It says, the terror that falls upon the Babylonians will be the work of sovereign Lord of heaven's armies. It'll be the work of Yahawah, the power of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans, right? So, of course, like I said, there's many accounts of the Most High raising up men against another army and using them as weapons. Through the Spirit, there are men whose lot on earth is to be filled with the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of weapon making, like I read in Isaiah 54 and 16, I believe. So he fills them with the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of weapon making to fulfill his pleasure, which goes into like basically giving them it's like a war games, right? I'm gonna show an example of him giving the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding to create these anything created, whether it be a weapon, whether it be a house, because even YAHAWASHI, he was the carpenter's son. It's about building. He's all about building as well. So let's go to Exodus 31. But the point I'm making is he gives them the inspiration. He inspires them and gives them the understanding to know how to. Let's just read it. Exodus 31, and starting at 3, it says, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God in wisdom and in understanding and in knowledge and in all manner of workship, to devise cunning works, to work in gold and in silver and in brass and in cutting of stones to set them, and in carving of timber to work in all manner of workmanship. So he can cause people, nations, to beat their plowshares and turn them into hooks, pruning hooks. Here's an example. Let's just read Isaiah 2 and 4. It says, and he shall judge among the nations. And this is how he judges too. He judges with using men on the earth, all right, to carry out these judgments. Men, animals, storms, or what do you call them? Earthquakes, tornadoes, weather, volcanoes. But he also uses, men to carry out his judgment. It says, and he shall judge among the nations and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Okay, this is the opposite. But ultimately, it's still giving them the inspiration through the Spirit to either beat their swords into plowshares or beat their pruning hooks back into spears. For example, Job 3 and 10, it says, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So you can even have, like in Daniel, when it talks about how he giveth the kingdom to whosoever he will, and he set up over the basis of men. So you can have a very weak nation. Like, for example, of course, not in any future that this is going to happen, but let's just say you have a country like Iran, who may not have a lot of people backing them up or nations backing them up, he can raise them up, to rule in the kingdom, as a kingdom to rule over it, right? Not saying that would happen, but I'm saying like he could take a very small nation and turn them into a kingdom, like over a lot of nations. And this is what he does. Is always, whenever you have a kingdom, there's always all the other nations are in subjection to whoever holds the holds that power, for lack of better words, right? Okay, so I'm gonna go further into the understanding of how these instruments are tactfully made, or meticulously or methodically carried out. How do you have the inspiration to make these very intricate machines, right? An example is in 1 Maccabees chapter 6, verse 51. It says, as for the sanctuary, he besieged it many days and set their artillery with engines and instruments to cast fire, and stones and pieces to cast darts and slings. So we living in a modern times, right? It says, whereupon they also made engines against their engines and held them battle a long season. So we're in a modern time where the weapons have increased. The technology of these weapons have increased, and it is not far-fetched based on all the scriptures I just read, how he controls the minds to create these weapons, to carry out the judgments, to take down nations. So all of this technology building up even today in modern warfare. Now you have all of these biological warfare weapons. You have chemical weapons, all these things were these men created, but it was through the spirit. So all these things are going to get used. You got robot dogs, you got napalm, you got all of these devastating weapons that causes cancer, radiation, just terrible, terrible things. But these, you got to think about it. The Most High is, Yahawah is the king of terrorists. And, he caused these men on the earth to create these type of weapons that really destroy you in very methodical ways. Strange judgment, right? All right, so I want to get into the spiritual side, of the war, because we know in Ephesians 6:21, or 6 and I believe, matter of fact, I believe it's 2 Corinthians 10:4, how the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. So on one level you have the Lord of hosts, right? Mustering the battle, getting these nations to go against each other, to create these weapons, to control all of the war campaigns, but also there's another war happening in the spirit. And I'm probably going to go into that on another video, because I don't want to make this too long. And yeah, I'm gonna just end it off right there. Hopefully, Lord willing, you were edified, and stay tuned. I want to give all praise and honor and glory to Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Shalom.